She actually used to attend this church when we lived in the community for about a dozen years. But she would have wanted us to continue this today. She would have been upset that she would have caused something to be rescheduled, so we decided to go ahead and move forward today. Wanted to catch up as well, Steve and Mark, since you guys were late. I'm going to be a little bit more robust of a moderator today, so if you guys are running over your time, I'm going to start, you'll hear me do this, which will mean just to wrap up your comments. And what I'm going to try and do over the course of the 2.5 hours is even out the time for everyone. So if you go over, for example, now or a little bit, I'll try and allow for questions to be directed to other individuals. My goal is to get everybody about the same amount of time to speak and be heard on various issues. But thank you for respecting, for being here, all of you. It's a great turnout. We've got the vast majority of the candidates. I think we have 1 or 2 that are missing. So it's really great. It's a testament to you all taking this process serious to being here. This will be seen by hundreds of tribal members as well online, so it's really great that you guys are all here, and thank you for being here. So the PAC, we have one broad question today, and I'll ask each of you to answer it in about 30 seconds to a minute, and it's regarding the audit. We are all the audit, so we're all aware of it. It's been kind of kept in the wraps for a while. We got it in the written notice. So we're just curious, what's your position on the audit? What do you think of it? And would you support its continuing implementation were you elected? So I'll offer it up to anyone who wants to. It's a tough question, so take a minute to think about it. And if anyone wants to start, Kevin, you want to start? Okay. And then we'll go ahead from there. I'll ask for hands, and everybody will get 30 seconds to a minute to essentially address that. What's your position on the audit? Do you support it? And support its implementation should you be elected?
That's a great question. I got a letter that says that I was duly enrolled with the Muckleshoot Indian tribe. Fortunately, it has been cleared up. It was an issue that went on for over a month, and I tell you what, the difficulty in which you go through when you're being enrolled, it hurts. Not only is it emotional pain and physical pain, but it literally hurts. Reach out, you slap, there's everything in which the emotions that you go, you travel. With that said, enrollment is a key component of sovereignty. It cannot be mismanaged. We have to have the processes and procedures in place because it is a key component of sovereignty. So do I support the audit? I believe that as difficult as it may be, I support the Tribal Council for the things that they've done, but I do not support the effects that it's had upon our people. Enrollment is a key component of sovereignty, and it cannot be mismanaged. I guess that's all that I see.
Thanks, Kevin. Jack, you want to go next?
Yeah, I was a component of the audit, supporting it to have the audit done, and it all stems from my oath of office. As soon as I was made aware that there was incomplete files, I knew which direction I had to go. I had to be supportive of the audit, and much like Kevin, do I agree with all the outcomes of the audit? No, I don't. The Constitution is the foundation of this tribe and this tribal government. And if you're a council person and you don't support that Constitution 100%, our foundation will crumble. We all have different interpretations, but I base my decisions on what our tribal court's interpretation of that law is. And if you start wavering on any element of our Constitution, the foundation will crumble. It's going to be some hard times for some tribal members because of this audit. I'm saddened for them, but we're a self-governed, self-determinated tribe, and our record's got to be, right up to the very best that we could possibly make them. Otherwise, you know, we're just the same as the BIA was. Their record keeping was so poor that we struggle all the time with it. So I support the audit to get our files back in the shape that they should be in. And I think it's my duty as a council person, once the audit's all done and everything shakes out, to try and come up with language to correct the wrongs that were done and try to expedite the healing process that we're going to go through.
First of all, I want to say that I'm really sorry and sad for the people who are being affected by it, those who have received letters and those who are going to receive letters. It breaks my heart, it scares me, it makes me feel uneasy. But I do support the audit, and our Constitution calls for it. What I don't support is a department going unchecked for so many years and all the mistakes just laying there, and that I don't support, and I don't want to see that happen in any other department in this tribe.
I support the audit 100%. As hard as it is, and it's, the effects are going to be terrible on people. But again, we got a Constitution, and Article 5, Section 1, A and B states it pretty bluntly. We need to stand behind it. We are a government. We've had congressmen that told us we were nothing but a special interest group. We need to act like a government. And yeah, I feel sorry for all these people that it may affect. But again, we're government. We need to stand behind it.
Yeah, having experience in the accounting department and stuff, reconciling numbers and going back, backdating stuff, it's a pretty long process even with the numbers, and to be having people's lives involved with this, where they're backdating stuff and looking into things, when some of these people got into the tribe, they came with all the paperwork that they were able to come with. When that person was working in there and they're asking to bring this forward and that forward and stuff, and we did everything we could, and people did everything they could to bring that stuff forward. And as soon as that committee voted that person into the tribe, they took responsibility for that. And they should be held more accountable for that than these people being condemned for it. And I feel that, the audit is a good thing as far as let's get all the numbers right. Let's get those blood quantums, let's get everything, the paperwork right. But let's not condemn people in the process. Let's help them. And I think that's the worst thing that I've seen is even people in our own tribe looking at other people and condemning them with these letters, and judging them. When they say, oh, I got a letter, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, you're duly enrolled, blah, 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 and it's just paperwork that people have not filed correctly, that it's a process to go through, and it sucks, and it's not very good on the tribe perception-wise at all. And I just hope that we can all get through it with an open and clear mind and peacefully. Myself, I know I get pretty emotional and frustrated with a lot of stuff. It's because I take it personally, and I love everybody in the tribe, and I hope to help them and protect them against anything that might hurt them, in the future. And that's about it on as far as my opinion. I support it, but I think we could have handled things a little differently in the end. Thank you.
Actually, I would say we could have handled things differently in the beginning. I have some, 5 years ago when I ran, one of the things in enrollment and the split families, and a lot of that was a lot of the conversation, and do we bundle them and do we do them separate? And one of the things I kept repeatedly saying was we have to get our enrollment files in order and get some more organization and make some corrections at that point, because until we correct that body in there and make the corrections that we need to make and make it run a little more efficiently and effective, then these errors and all these other issues are just going to keep, plundering, or it's just going to be circling the drain always. So, first of all, I would have put that vote out to the people to vote whether.
I'll turn it on. Sorry.
Thank you. Not cutting in my time, is it?
No. Can everybody else turn your cell phone off?
First of all, I would have put that vote out to the people. I, as a tribal council person, if I would have been on council, I think that would have been a decision and a vote that our membership needed to make, whether they wanted to do the audit, because it's a huge, and as you can see what's happened, it's huge, it's big, it affects a lot of lives, it separates a lot of us, it creates a lot of turmoil. Sometimes I don't know if it creates more turmoil than good, actually, and what are the pros and cons to doing this process? But I really would have, first of all, believed that that should have been a vote for the membership, and they should have decided whether to do that. The other thing is, if we were going to move forward with it, I would have really liked the council to set some guidelines prior to the findings, like, looking at mitigating circumstances. Are these the things? What if this happens? What if this comes up? What if that? How are we going to deal with those situations before they even know what the situations are? Because then they're not making decisions based on somebody they know or some personal agenda or anything else. And you could have set those guidelines prior to the findings. And then I think in this finding process, it wouldn't have been such a hard line. That's our Constitution, and we got to take action, because they would have had some circumstances to look at mitigating circumstances and maybe could have resolved some of these issues. As you say, I don't think all efforts have been exhausted. And I hope that if anybody gets letters or whatever, that you really think through that and use whatever methods, and don't give up, okay? Thank you.
I agree with the audit. I think that it probably needed to happen just because in my own family, I even got grandkids that all their numbers are not right on their enrollment. That's the thing I'm looking at, is everybody's numbers need to get right. The blame game, whose fault it was, I think we need to stop doing that and just look at the solution and find a good solution that accommodates all of us, all tribal members, and I think that's happening. For those of you who got letters, I'm sorry, it hurt my heart. Why do we want to disenroll people? We fought so hard to get them in. So that's just my take. I just want to get up there and help and try to see if I can, alleviate the pain, I guess, because it is painful for some people. So, thank you.
This has not been an easy process for any council member to have to even make a decision on something like this. And it hurts all of us, I think, and it's an unfortunate situation that we've got to where we have over the years. But when you spend a lot of your time making decisions based on money, and I think when we start doing that, that's when issues start arising. And we get into these positions. In the beginning, it was about numbers, because of course you had to have numbers to get federal funding. And I think that's an issue with a lot of the tribes where people were tied to before, and now they don't want to release them because of course they still get money. So we have to stop making decisions based on money. And like they say, money is the root of all evil, and I think that it is, and it puts us in a bad position with, like even the 99 Minute, it was based on money, because numbers were getting out of control. And you can't do that. But there's a lot of mistakes that have been made, and that time's gone, that's past. So, you can grumble about it all you want, but that time's over. It's unfortunate that mistakes and errors were made. But on the other side of that, we have repeatedly commented on the BIA, and they're not keeping numbers in the 1900s very well, because of course we didn't matter. Tribal members did not matter, and they didn't care about keeping numbers or keeping track of rolls, so they're askew all over the place. So for future generations, we don't want to be in that same spot. We have to, as painful as it is for everybody on council, as painful as it is, we have to get them roles corrected. And I find it very unfortunate that the ones in the beginning who came here just because they came from a federally recognized tribe became members, and now we needed them then, and now we don't need them, and now we're going to make changes. I find that very unfortunate, but that's one of the painful things that you people here who want to run for council, you're going to face.
Kevin, before you respond, let's get Mark and Brent an opportunity to address the question, and then we'll ask if anyone else wants to make any final comments before we move to the next question.
Okay, I guess it's regrettable.
Can you hear me now? Okay, first of all, it's regrettable that it took an audit to bring this whole issue to a head. But to me, I'm still trying to decipher exactly what the audit's saying. But as long as whatever the process is, if it's done within the parameters of the Constitution, like it or not, the council has to work within those parameters. That is the bottom line to this. And I personally do believe that the tribe is going to be struggling with this enrollment issue for quite some time yet to come.
Okay, I have a cousin who can't wait to be an elder. He just can't wait. We're like 3 years away, and he can't wait. Personally, I'm trying to hold it off as long as I can. But the reason I say that is because my answer will kind of belie how long I've been here. I've worked for the tribe since the 80s. The tribe came and got me out of school and asked me to come out here and work for the tribe. And so I remember what it was like when we went to apply for a housing grant. We hired a guy to do housing for us, and we had this dream of building housing. And we hired this gentleman to work for us, and he went to work on a grant, and he came back, and we were 68 people short of being able to get this grant. And so, Mark was the chair at the time, and we called a meeting together. We used to have the meetings on Wednesday nights, and they would last till, midnight. And these guys nowadays, an hour-long meeting, I'm always surprised that they're done in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. We still go till 11 o'clock, midnight, sometimes like that. So the point I'm making is that I've been around for a long time. I've seen this, tribe and this community grow. And I remember when we asked people to join our tribe, I remember what that was like. I remember us asking Native people who were married into the tribe or living here to join our tribe so that we could get the numbers up so that we could start getting these grants. So I remember what that was like. Having said that, I think if you are a leader, if your people do believe in you and elect you to this position, sometimes you have to make decisions that you might not necessarily personally agree with. I think you should have a personal opinion. I think as a member of the tribe, you should have an opinion. But I think that sometimes this position puts you in a position where you have to do what the people that put you in this position want you to do. So although it would be tough for me, I would support the audit as it is right now, but I agree with Mark. I think this is going to be something that goes on for a long time. I think this is an issue that we'll deal with for many years. In my family, I have cousins who got letters, and I love them dearly, and really, really sorry that this happened to them, and to watch them start packing their house and getting ready to leave here and not really know where they're going. That's a really tough thing. I agree also that a big decision like this, I think this should have been put to the membership to have an opinion. I think membership should have been invited into this process. It shouldn't have just been leadership handing down an edict to membership. I think membership should have had an opportunity to weigh in on this. And I think that'll be something that if I do achieve this position this year, I want to see more of a flip-flop where we're servants to the people rather than seemingly the other way around. Not to bash on anyone, I'm really not. I'm just saying that it seems as if some people think that we're here to make their lives better. And I think that the position that I'm seeking, I want to give back to the community. I want to give back to my family, give back to this tribe. And so I see it the other way. I see us as servants to that. I also think there should have been a plan so that the decisions that are being made now by leadership aren't reactionary. I think that's sad that you get into a position where something this important, the decisions that will be made will be sort of reactionary. So I think that that's not good. And then lastly, my last thing is, and if you know me, you know this about me. I just think we should have some kindness about this. I think we should have some decorum. I think there should be some way of going about this, that if we have to do this, if this has to come down, that we at least have some kindness and some civility. Because these are our people. These are still our people. How do I tell my cousin he's not my cousin just because he doesn't get to live here anymore? He's still my cousin. He's always going to be my cousin. I love him dearly. Okay, so let's just have some decorum, that's all.
Thank you. So I'll offer up if anyone wants to have a follow-up remark before I go to the audience for the next round of questions. Kevin, I know you want to say something. Anyone else want to make a final comment? Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
I'd like to just mention, Corey Manili. I think Corey really has got the heart of the issue of what he was talking about. I think Kayleen touched on it as well, and then Mr. Merrill here really hit it home right at the end. If you haven't gotten one of these letters, or if you don't know about what it's like, it is painful. And I feel for these people who are going to get these letters. And so there is, and if we would change things, there are two things that need to be changed from my perspective. First and foremost, I think the membership could be involved, but the education piece of the membership. We gathered people in February, and we said, what do you need? And membership said, enrollment is very difficult. If you've looked at it, it is multi-layered. We have council members who get specialized training in enrollment, and they're sitting in meetings. Our membership, if we're going to make sound decisions, need to have some type of education regarding what enrollment is. It goes back to 1934, just the first part to begin with. The second piece, and this is almost even more as crucial, we are Native people. We are Native Americans. We do things with our heart. We do things with kindness. This has not been done. When you hear people say Constitution, I support the Constitution as well too, but it's not a code talk for saying that we do things cruelly. It's not code for saying, hey, let's not listen to our membership, or let's sit behind closed doors. Let's sit behind closed doors and make decisions. Steve and Jack, you guys were at that Eugene meeting. It took everything we had to get you guys to answer some questions about what was going on with the audit. And by golly, I don't know what it's like to be in your guys' shoes and to sit behind those closed doors and have to deal with the things in which you have to deal with, the decisions you have to make. But I tell you what, you guys are our leaders. And this process is cold. This process is cold. And Brent hit it right on the head. We can do it with kindness. We can do it with love, not with being callous. And I look at you as no effect. Jolanda, I feel for you as well too. It's a difficult job. But we can do it with love, and we can do it with kindness. We need to educate our members.
Thank you. Steve, did you want to make a quick comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Just grab that mic real quick.
Yeah, I don't think, like I said, this has been painful for all of us. I don't think any of us did it without taking it to heart or feeling really, really bad. I don't think any of us did. Nobody on council did. And I don't like even a hint of an idea that anybody did, because it simply didn't happen. This has been hard for the enrollment staff, the enrollment committee. They have struggled with this. Nobody has done it and not thought first. So I don't like the idea of throwing that out, that nobody took this to heart, because we have. And it's been very, very hard on all of us, and it's going to continue to be hard. So don't think that we did it willy-nilly, because that's not the case. People have sat across the table and been very emotional about this. And we don't like the situation, not one bit, and we probably are going to be dealing with it for many, many years, for sure. And there's a lot of things and issues that we cannot talk about, and we're not going to. And then I think people think that we're hiding things. We're behind closed doors. That's, we're as open as we're allowed to be. So if we don't want to stick to policies and things that we put in to place, then take our legal department away, who guides us, who tells us we put these things on paper and then they don't mean anything. Well, then let's get rid of all of our legal department and people that advise us on what to do. But to think that we did this without a lot of serious heartburn, it's simply not true.
Well, how do you show the membership then that you care about this issue? How do you let these families know that are going through this to alleviate some of the burdens that they're going through? Do you know what it's like? Do you know what these people are going to go through?
So I'm gonna interject, Kevin, and this is a very emotional issue.
I'm not checking, I just want to know.
And I think a lot of people have some questions, and that's why we had it as the question that we wanted to ask. And Steve and Jack are in a difficult position because they're in current leadership and they have information that they have to be careful with. So I don't want them to be beat up here at all. What we want to know is that you all as candidates, should you get elected, what your positions are, what your motions are, and we're getting a good sense of that. And I really appreciate you all sharing. Kevin, I'll just ask you please not to interject, please. And I appreciate your passion and your candidacy and running and everything, but please don't do that. And I'll ask for any other comments. So Denise, you want to say something? And then Jack, looks like you as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's just, not in just this enrollment audit that was done, but there's many decisions that are made. And what I've seen over the years of working for the tribe is that not always are they forward thinkers. Not always are they looking at the big picture, the consequences of the decisions that they're making, having that well thought out before they make that decision, and have things in order and in place so that they're not just being reactionary to a decision that isn't made, because that's what's happening right now. People's emotions are high. Everybody's being reactionary. They're saying, oh, well, we didn't think about that. We didn't think about this. Well, those are the things you need to think about before you make a decision, and have those things in order so that when those decisions are made, that everything can flow in a less emotional and hurtful and painful way. And it can also be explained, and the membership can be educated on it so they have a better understanding of what's happening, and that our leadership is not just reacting to a situation of a decision that they made without thinking out, having some foresight on what was going to occur. So and that's in all decisions, not just this one, and I've seen it repeatedly happen. So that's what I really hope to bring to the table, is that little more forward thinking. Let's look at the big picture. We make this decision, how's this going to affect this, and this, and have a plan for that.
Okay, Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, I got to just respectfully disagree with that statement, because I think the council, when we had long conversations on before we started the audit, what are you going to do with the findings? And it always came back to the findings got to be applied to what the Constitution says, and you move forward from there. The Constitution isn't up for debate. It's every one of the tribal members' constitution. You each have a vote, just like I have one vote, on establishing that constitution. What the council's job is a gatekeeper. And the committee, they review that finding to the constitution, see how it fits, what the exception is. And the staff does the exact same thing. So does council. And so does legal. It's all, every finding's based on how does it fit within the Constitution or don't fit within the Constitution. It ain't a matter of us sitting there, well, this portion is doing wrong, we ain't going to do anything with it because, we want to show compassion. Well, supporting that Constitution, you don't have the latitude to show compassion for an individual finding. And, as far as showing compassion, and I don't know how else you would do it other than sending out the letters. This is confidential information on that one tribal member. I can't reveal that confidential information to anybody in this room. So I don't know what the alternative would be, Kevin. You know, that's your personal information. I can't talk with anybody, even you, you know. So I don't know what the alternative would have been. I'm saddened that it hurts you so much, but I just don't know how else you do it without being upstanding commitment to your oath of office and not revealing confidential information.
I kind of have to agree with Jack. I was on council for 9 years. I know council sits down and tries to think of everything, and you get beat up after the fact. And I've been there many times, but I agree again with Jack. You know, you do the best job you can, and you know, the Constitution states it. How do you know, if you start trying to wiggle this way or that way, what does that then say? You've got to follow them guidelines. It's a government. You've got to stick behind it. I know it's hard, and I feel for these people, but again, you know, move forward.
I understand following the Constitution, and I believe in that. But I was just thinking, Jack, when you were saying how else could we do it, maybe it could be in the process. You know, I've heard people say, at the Eugene meeting, somebody went up, a tribal member went up and said, so do you think if I came up here in December of 2014, I would know that I'm never going to get a letter or this process would be over? And the answer was no. That's a long time for our tribal members to worry. That is a long time for them to wonder. And it's fear-inducing. And that's what makes everybody anxious, and that's what divides people. So maybe some of the compassion could come in the process. I agree. I don't think any of the tribal council members sat up there and said, or, you know, didn't think all the way. They could have missed some things. But I think it's a process where we're needing compassion.
Brent? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this will be the statement. Corey, will you after Brent? This is still on the audit.
Okay, this is tough, and I get that this is tough. One of the main reasons I'm running, I make movies and I write and I do things, you know, and I was doing fine. We were doing good, but I had a bunch of people come to me and say, we really want you to do this year. So I'm honoring them by running for council this year. One of the reasons is because I had a family. This family's actually being honored this weekend. At the powwow, a family that's been here for as long as I've been here, and you know, they came to my house and they were in tears. They were sobbing, crying, sitting at my dining room table. So yeah, I'm as passionate about this as it gets. I agree with Kevin on a lot of these things, and I'll also say this. I love everybody at the table. I really do. Jack, my mom babysat Jack, so you know, we're about as close as I think you can be in that sense. I walked 265 miles with Steve Bob, and you know, when he started telling me his stories for the third time, you know, we realized we'd been walking a long time. So I love Steve. And so please don't take this wrong. I don't mean this in any way other than, you know, there's folks who've been through this process and they've been beaten down by this process and they've been doing this a long time and it's tough. And there's some of us that are fresh and ready to go and we're not beaten down and we want this job and we want this opportunity and we want to bring a fresh look at this and we're ready to go. So I just wanted to add that. That's one of the reasons is that the people coming to my house asking me to do this, I'm going to honor them and see this through. And yeah, and I'm fresh, I'm ready, you know, I'm not beaten down, I'm ready to go.
Corey?
I just a quick little statement, you know, the amount of turmoil in an organization is a lot of times you got to look at your leaders as why we have all this turmoil, and there shouldn't be any turmoil to this amount of effect if the issues are handled right up front in the beginning, to make sure this kind of turmoil doesn't happen within an organization. And a lot of people look towards our leaders to make sure it doesn't happen, you know. And another thing is, you know, we're only as strong as our weakest person, you know, and so we got to build those people up to make our organization stronger in the future, whether that be jobs, this enrollment issue, or what.
So
Okay.
I want to clear Brent's statements as well too. Steve, Jack, everybody here, we have nothing but respect for you. The passion in which I have is surely comes from coming through these issues. And where we can have compassion in a process like enrollment. Now, like I said, I don't know what the decisions are made. I'm not inferring that you guys are making decisions behind closed doors, Steve. I trust you that you have integrity. That's why I voted for you last time. Same thing with you, Jack. Where we can have compassion on these issues is following our Constitution, but by writing well-established process and procedures that benefit the tribal members and not benefit just the Constitution. Now, the membership had asked, will you allow access to enrollment files? We asked Tribal Council for that. Did it happen? No, it didn't happen. But there wasn't a clear, concise explanation to the membership as to why the ordinance was not changed so that tribal members who were going through this process could have access to their files. There was not a concerted effort to let tribal members know why this ordinance was not passed or why they couldn't have access to their files. As having compassion, that's one way you show compassion. If you can't do it, then let's explain why we can't do it. That's very important. It's writing sound policies and procedures that are benefiting tribal members and not Constitution.